Welcome to the Gooswan channel. This fine gentleman, everyone, is Emotegi. And this music? That's Hyperpop. Let me explain. In 2019, 100 gecs released their seminal album 1000 gecs and kickstarted the hyperpop wave that dominated most of 2020 and 2021. While it was by no means the first hyperpop record, and 100 gecs weren't the first act to dip their toes into a similar sound, they are by far one of the first to make it big. But we're not talking about them today. No, hyperpop is one of the most multifaceted genres out there, and focusing on just the biggest in the genre will be doing a disservice to the scene as a whole. And especially with the release of 10,000 gecs, I realized there's a lot better stuff out there. Of course, we could talk about progenitors of the genre like Sophie, and big inspirations for the more rap-inspired sound of 2020 hyperpop would be acts under the Drain Gang name like Blade and Young Lean. But while I think those are all very good and very important to the history of hyperpop, I want to talk about some lesser-known artists. And one of those lesser-known artists is the rapper by the name of Emotegi. In 2016, he would begin releasing music under name and go on to work with a lot of the big names in hyperpop and PC music. One of his first songs would be a track called Tomboy, and it would be the start of his prolific career of music. A lot of music. One of his first tracks to actually feature any form of vocals would be California, and it's a fucking heater.
I will hunt them down to the next week, so don't text me, I know you can't catch me. Hit a couple trays, bring your besties, California left me, the bodies can't arrest us.
This track dropped in 2018, and it practically debuts Emotegi's signature vocal style and rap delivery. Unlike a lot of the higher-pitched vocals in hyperpop at the time, Emotegi had a much lower and rougher vocal register, and he would especially use this tone to his advantage in tracks like Earth and Talent Show. Beautifully contrasts this high, bubbly instrumental with his own rough vocals. It's a really interesting and fun sound that Baisa S2K honestly adds to more than I expected them to. I also think the chorus melody itself is a very fun one. It's just a very fun track, that's how I would describe it. Not much later, he would release the song Talent Show, which would be covered by some of the biggest names in the hyperpop scene, like Quinn and 8485, which is a pretty big deal. Even the original one, though, is one of the best hyperpop songs of all time. It's got a very emotional, nostalgic tone to it while still having the energy hyperpop is known for. Most other songs in the genre that go for this slant sort of drop the more energetic elements, but Talent Show manages to keep them to a great effect. Along with the crowd noise from you guessed it, Talent Show, Emotegi crafts this beautiful vista of friends long gone and a past still yearned for to this day. Junji Ito is easily Emotegi's best solo song, however.
Who's that creeping on my window? Run, see, better not sit, go. I don't know who's you, your face show. Like a thief in the night, rubbing in smoke.
The beat has this really engaging, thumping feeling to it, accented with these higher-pitched synth leads that feel like it would be physically grating to the ears if they had been mixed any higher in the mix, but feel perfectly snuggled into your ears on this occasion. The song really speaks for itself, so I highly suggest you listen to it, but for my sake, I think it's easily one of the best in the whole genre. But his own songs would never be where Emotegi left his biggest influence. They're all great, and I think he's a really good producer, but one can't deny that his most iconic moment comes from a collab. Because, you see, around November of 2020, Emotegi, along with a horde of other hyperpop legends, were all busy doing one very specific thing: They were all
Thinking moving like a zombie.
a remix of Moving Like a Zombie, originally a song by Eric Doa or Eric DOA / Dante Red, would be released in November of 2020 and feature verses from a huge roster of hyperpop legends. Artists like Sebi, Kamo, Lewis Grant, and Dollywood popped in to provide a verse for this version of the song. But among that roster of veritable legends, Emotegi came in and delivered the, in my opinion, best verse on the whole track.
3 bands on me. Number 17, let it on see. Take per K, I be got me. Like a cutie, I be pulling like I'm boxing. 3 bands on me. Number 17, let it on see. Take per K, I be got me. Like a cutie, I be pulling like I'm boxing.
I don't think this verse is some kind of poetic genius or anything. The lyrics are nothing special, the vocal melodies themselves fall in line perfectly with the rest of the song, and even the vocals themselves are kind of varied in the mix. But I think that kind of makes it work even better. Emotegi's voice kind of transforms into an instrument in and of itself in this verse, like a highly sophisticated synth batch or a self-conscious Vocaloid VST. It's a sound that I think only Kamo's verse really matches in any way, but it still doesn't quite reach there. Instead of paying attention to the words, we pay more attention to the melody and the production that he put on the voice. The shifting bit crush and the glitch effects accented by the most vile coughing sound I've ever heard kind of come together to create this really cool amalgam sound that feels like it's part of the song more than it's just a verse on top of the song, like a lot of the other verses feel. And aside from that more esoteric, head-up-ass reading of the verse, it's also just really fun. Lines like, just have such a kind of fun, off-kilter flow to them that it's hard not to sing along. It's almost hypnotic. And on top of that, it's delightfully short, falling a good bit shorter than, for example, Tony Velar's verse. Tony Velar? I know it's probably like a real word, or like a brand probably, but I don't know how to pronounce it, so just assume I pronounced it correctly, because I don't want to look it up right now. After this collab, Emotegi would keep releasing music, something he's still doing to this day, but I think rehashing the rest of his story all the way up until right now, right this day, would be a bit of a waste of time. You've got more important things to do, and I've got other videos to make, so before I leave you, I just want to give you all a quick rundown of some of my favorite Emotegi songs I haven't mentioned by name yet.
Can't you see it? That look for you. BD and dress or cross my heart, that's the reason. Look up at the stars, they're retreating. Don't get lost, don't live what I'm preaching. Dream Jesus, eyes me immediately. Can't even come home when it's freezing. 9 to 5:30. That's my business. With a tip to the job, what's the difference? Skateboard is what I'm missing. Never smoke the pot that I'm distant. Let's have a race, let's put it down. I can feel the magic count coming down. Shins out of place, twist, turn around. Run through the gears, let's run the town. Come get up. From under my skin and the ladies on my own. You drove in my kitchen like it is and get it all. This summer was the same and it's caught in my mouth. I like that caught it rain, let it rinse, watch it out.
And with that out of the way, it seems we're at the end of the road. Nowadays, Emotegi seems to be more interested in playing live shows than releasing music, and I'm perfectly fine with that. If I lived in the Americas, at least. I would love to travel to the US to catch one of his shows at some point, but for now it seems like online content is all I'll be enjoying of Emotegi's music. And you know, that's also fine by me. I mean, hyperpop is such an internet-specific genre that it still feels like I'm part of the experience, but it would be cool to see him live someday. And yeah, if you watch this video, I highly encourage you to listen to some of his music, follow him on Twitter, and maybe, just maybe, give the next artist with 500 views that pops up in your recommended a shot. You might strike gold or you might not, but you'll never know if you don't try. So, peace out.
Trying to bring my heart out the flame.